My thanks to Bring Me to Life Radio, and welcome to the Cinema Scribe. When we stumble in life, getting back on track can be difficult. But when we do, the feeling can be quite gratifying. However, if that reawakening is intruded upon by some kind of new setback, we may be left discouraged and disheartened. All that work may have seemingly gone for naught. But what if this new development is intended to take us to an even higher level than we've achieved through our initial comeback? We've likely already seen that our first turnaround brought us redemption we probably never thought we'd attain. So why couldn't it happen again? And this time on an even grander scale. That's the challenge faced by an artist looking to walk the path of redemption in the compelling new drama, Sound of Metal. After years of struggling to get clean, recovering addict Ruben Stone, played by Riz Ahmed, finally seems to have found himself. As a drummer for a heavy metal duo with his girlfriend, Lou Berger, played by Olivia Cook, Ruben and his significant other tour the country in their RV, mostly playing one-nighters at small venues trying to make a name for themselves and to generate some cash along the way. They seem relatively happy, thanks to their romantic and artistic collaboration. But there's more to their relationship than this. They're recovery partners. Lou helped Ruben kick his addictions to an array of substances, while he helped her break the habit of intentionally hurting herself. It's an arrangement that has proved fruitful on many fronts, which is why what happens next is so demoralizing. Suddenly, and quite unexpectedly, Ruben notices a dramatic hearing loss. At first it seems intermittent, but it deteriorates severely not long thereafter, reaching a point where a specialist, Dr. Pasinger, played by Tom Kemp, measures his hearing capacity at just a few notches above 20%, and failing fast. Ruben desperately asks the doctor about treatments, but he offers little hope, delivering the news that he's on the fast track toward deafness. The only solution Dr. Pasinger offers is the possibility of surgery involving cochlear implants, devices designed to help restore at least some of the patient's lost hearing. However, he notes that the procedure and equipment are quite expensive, usually in the range of $40,000 to $80,000, and that insurance rarely covers the cost. Needless to say, Ruben is devastated. He sees this development as the end of his music career, and with that, a fundamental loss of his new identity. The stress of this situation troubles him so much that the thought of going back to using crosses his mind. Lou tries to offer comfort, but given her own history, she's placed in jeopardy of backsliding as well. Given these conditions, as well as the fact that Ruben is in no position to afford the implant surgery, a specially tailored solution to these circumstances is warranted. But what? After contacting Ruben's manager, a possible answer surfaces. He puts Ruben in touch with Joe, played by Paul Raci, manager of a rehab community for the deaf. The Vietnam veteran, who lost his hearing and virtually everything else in his life in an accident, meets with Ruben at the community's idyllic rural facility to explain what's involved in his treatment. And as the plan's details are explained, Ruben is less than enthusiastic. In essence, Joe tells Ruben that he will teach him how to be a deaf person, a revelation that comes as a shock. It goes against everything that Ruben is hoping for, namely, finding a way to come up with the funds to pay for the surgery that he's obsessed with getting to restore his hearing. But as Joe further explains, he wants Ruben to come to see himself in the same light as the rest of the members of the community, as people who view their condition as a difference, not a disability. Joe stresses that if Ruben is willing to follow the plan and adapt to these circumstances, he will likely find his life as fulfilling, if not more so, than what he experienced prior to coming there. Given his unsettled past, as well as his troubled present, both of which are characterized by keeping a tight lid on his feelings, the prospect of potentially finding inner peace appeals to him. But can he achieve it? It means moving into the community, giving up his RV and cell phone, and perhaps most troubling, saying goodbye to Lou, at least for the near future. He'll also need to learn American Sign Language and find ways to integrate himself into a community of strangers, all of whom seem to feel quite differently about their hearing loss from the way he does. And all the while, thoughts of getting that surgery and raising the money for it linger just below the surface of his consciousness. At first, Reuben struggles to fit in. He finds communication challenging. He views the restrictions placed on him with frustration. He even looks for ways to circumvent the rules. What's more, he's worried about Lou, fearing that she'll fall off her own wagon without his presence. But Joe will have none of that. He gives Reuben a series of assignments to come to terms with his situation, most notably journaling his feelings, not just about recent events, but about everything that brought him to this point in his life. He stresses that the silence that has recently been imposed upon him could actually prove to be an ally in that process. Without the audio distractions of the hearing world, he might be able to tune into aspects of himself that have long gone ignored, showing him a way out of his current challenge and providing him with a path for his future. Of course, quite ironically, the question here is, will he listen? As Reuben spends more time among community members, he begins to adapt, finding a sort of extended family that he's never really had before. They appreciate him, and he sees that, making it possible for him to return the favor. He even learns that he's able to teach others how to play the drums, showing that music can still be a part of his life. Indeed, everything that Joe had said would emerge appears to be coming true. But did Reuben really hear the message? And what will his response mean for the future that awaits him? It's disheartening when life doesn't work out as planned. That's especially true when it takes a drastic left turn, moving in a direction far removed from what we had hoped for. But sometimes those seeming missteps unexpectedly usher us toward enviable goals, some of them more rewarding than originally imagined. Of course, that may not always be easy to see at that point, but if we take the time to analyze the circumstances, we might end up pleasantly surprised. The analysis process requires going within and taking a good hard look at ourselves. That includes those aforementioned left turns. As much as we may dislike those developments and try to distance ourselves from them, they nevertheless serve a purpose, even if that's not obvious at first glance. The trick is figuring out what it is. Such is the kind of frustration that Reuben experiences. He's slow to embrace the analysis process, however. He lets his fears get in the way. He doesn't allow himself to see a way out by considering alternatives and/or unconventional responses. And he's still gravitating toward distractions that keep him from addressing the task at hand. Under those conditions, it's no wonder he initially makes little progress. His resistance is far too great to enable much, if any, forward movement. However, as he settles into his new environment, circumstances, and routine, he begins to see a shift in his focus. As Joe told him, he begins to see his lack of hearing as a difference, not a disability. In fact, it enables him to feel a part of a community that he hadn't previously known, one that has its own culture and way of looking at the world. He discovers that it can offer him a new direction in life, one that he hadn't anticipated when he launched into this process. Reuben starts to move past his fears that were holding him back, including those that have dogged him much of his life, such as those that prompted him to escape into addiction as a coping mechanism, as well as all the fallout that came from that and from getting clean. This removes some of the seemingly impenetrable barriers that have blocked his progress. Overcoming fears thus opens up new doors, such as the ability to think outside the box. He's able to envision new courses of action that he was previously unable to see. Discovering that he can teach drumming to other deaf persons, for example, was a path he once thought inconceivable. It may even become more fulfilling than he imagined. These developments can then lead to something even more profound: redemption. Starting over may not be easy, especially when it seems like we're beginning at square one. However, when we see how it enables us to overcome our fears and exceed our limitations, it shows us that we can become more than we thought we could be, particularly when we're seeking to make up for what we perceive of as past shortfalls. It helps us better understand recent events as well as those that led up to them, including the beliefs that we held and the decisions we made in selecting the path we chose. That puts an entirely new perspective on things, and under these circumstances, we truly can redeem ourselves. This is perhaps best achieved when immersing ourselves in our innate inner silence. The stillness of that contemplative space allows us to focus entirely on who we are, how we became that way, and what led us to it. Of course, it's difficult to make use of that resource if we're constantly being distracted by outside influences. They draw our attention away and prevent us from concentrating on the task at hand. And that's the challenge Reuben faces to complete his reawakening. Can he do it? That's what he and we, as viewers, will come to find out. When our dreams and the life we know evaporate in an instant, we may find it next to impossible to adjust, as is the case in this engaging debut drama from director Darius Marder. While this offering has a little trouble finding its footing at times, it nevertheless takes audiences through the challenges associated with hearing loss and a recovering addict's struggle to maintain sobriety in the wake of profound change. The film also skillfully delves into matters of adaptability and self-acceptance, as well as learning how to see disabilities as differences, not handicaps, qualities with the potential to give us new and unconsidered perspectives on our existence. All of this is brought to life through the fine performances of Ahmed, Cook, and Rachi, as well as an inventive sound design that truly makes an impact on viewers. Sound of Metal is indeed one of the year's best, and it's been showered with accolades and nominations in this year's awards competitions thus far. The film is available for streaming exclusively on Amazon Prime Video. We've all no doubt heard the expression, "everything happens for a reason." It's a saying that many of us readily take to heart in moments of inspiration, but it's also one that gets put to the test when we incur some kind of seeming adversity. What then? The question of why invariably surfaces, the answers to which are nearly always elusive. However, if we take the time to examine where we're at, who we are, and how we got there, all without distraction, the solutions frequently emerge with startling clarity, opening our eyes to possibilities we hadn't expected, considered, or even envisioned. The redemption and rewards to come out of such situations are often beyond what we may have imagined, setting us on new and enlightening paths that allow us to discover newfound blessings and to see them for the miracles of creation that they truly are. I'm Brent Marchant, the Cinema Scribe. Thanks for listening.
A lifelong movie fan and longtime student of metaphysics, Cinema Scribe Brent Marchant is the award-winning author of Get the Picture, Conscious Creation Goes to the Movies, Consciously Created Cinema, The Movie Lover's Guide to the Law of Attraction, and Third Reel, Conscious Creation Goes Back to the Movies, all of which provide reader-friendly looks at how the practice of conscious creation, also known as the Law of Attraction, is illustrated through film. Brent maintains an ongoing blog about metaphysical cinema and other self-empowerment topics through his website, www.brentmarchant.com. He's also the movie correspondent for the Good Radio Network and a contributor to numerous other websites, publications, and podcasts. Brent holds a BA in magazine journalism and history from Syracuse University. Check him out at www.brentmarchant.com.